Greetings, everyone. I'm Mustafa Kashif, and welcome to another episode of this podcast. So, the saga continues. As we all are aware, Sean Combs, or P. Diddy, is very much locked up and he awaits trial. I think it would be May 25th of next year, being 2025. Now, along with that, many have been saying that Shawn Carter needs to be looked at and perhaps arrested. So now Shawn Carter, or Jay Z, is in the spotlight. And he is in the spotlight for, based on the fact that a young woman who was 13 years old at the time claims that he had sexually assaulted her. And of course, Jay Z is he is standing firm on his grounds that such never happened, and excuse me, and he's not that kind of person, and he wished for this to be a trial as well. So both Sean Combs and Shawn Carter are both in the media spotlight for not quite the same things in terms of extent, but to some degree for the same thing, and that is sexually assaulting a minor. Now, there's a concern here that I think wish that we need to look at. We need to look at very seriously. And while it is heinous for a grown man to be sexually engaged with a young child, I'm not going to say a young woman, but I'm going to say a young child, then it is also heinous for that young child to be left alone, or, in another way putting it, to be harvested by either her parents or by her community to become the source, perhaps a source of income or a source of something else for the people who are harvesting her. And I say that because I would like to connect the dots here. But first, let me connect the dots to a young woman. She's no longer young, but young at the time back in the 1970s. Her name was Anika Lucas. Aneeka Lucas. Anika Lucas. I think she's Belgian by birth and nationality. And according to her, her mother was the one who who sold her into the sex trafficking industry. And of course, we know what happens when young women are have become a part of the sex trafficking industry. They're used, abused, and then simply refused if they're not killed, right? So Anika Lucas was one of the few who lived to tell her story. And for you, my followers, and those of you who have not followed me before, and who perhaps is even listening to me for the first time, I suggest that you go look her up. Her story is on YouTube. It's a very tragic story, but you may want to check it out and listen to her and see what she's got to say. That helps to connect the dots in one way. Now, let's look at Usher's mom, right? I don't know what her reason would have been to have sent her 14-year-old son, who would have had no knowledge of how to navigate amongst grown men, right? But how and why would she have sent her son to go live with P. Diddy at that time, right? Knowing that he is much older than her son, and knowing fully well that the industry do have pedophiles, And this is not something that we cannot say, or that we can openly say, oh, I didn't know. Sorry. No. You must have known. You have to know. You have to know that the industry, be it the music or the film industry, is filled with pedophiles. Now, perhaps she can easily say that she didn't know what Diddy was or could have been. Okay, understandably so. But the question still remains, why would you have sent your child? That's a very irresponsible act. To have sent your child to go live with a grown man who is not related to the family in any way, simply because you, as a parent, might be living vicariously through your child's talent. That's the only reason that I can come up with. But I'm sure she have her own reasons, and God knows best. This now is what I am predicating my question upon. How is it that these young girls, especially young girls, are finding themselves in the industry? Now, according to what Mr. Busby, the lawyer who is currently doing a lot of cases for some of the people who were affected by Diddy, according to what we are hearing, half of the litigants were children at the time. Men and women who were boys and girls at the time. So where are all these young girls and boys coming from, and why? This is a very important question that we have to ask. The litigants that Tony Busby is dealing with, just go look it up and you'll see. A lot of them are young, and apparently Mr. Busby claims that one of the litigants was sexually assaulted at the age of 9. So in the case of Jay-Z, the girl was 13. In the case of P. Diddy, one of the litigants, we're not sure if it's a girl or a boy, but the litigant was 9 years old at the time. So I'm asking, why are we having our young children in these situations? Why are we putting our children in these situations? This is not to say that I am giving P. Diddy or Jay-Z, if any of them are found guilty, I'm not giving them a pass for anything that they would have done or may have done. But I'm simply saying that the parents are also partly guilty for allowing your child to be in such an environment where they can become assaulted by what we are now looking at as sexual predators. Because after all, with the claim coming up against Jay-Z, somebody is looking at him as a sexual predator. Now, in the case of Jay-Z, right, who seemed to be vehemently denying that any such thing happened and that he is not that kind of person, well, I would like to remind Jay-Z that there are other young women who were under the age of 18 that was connected to him. And those young women are Aaliyah, who was also connected to R. Kelly, right? Rihanna, and Foxy Brown. These were all young girls who were connected to Jay-Z. And in the case of Rihanna, it is alleged that she was secretly flown or secretly and illegally flown out of Barbados in the middle of the night and into the United States to meet with Jay-Z for the purpose of a career. Now, if this is true, then again, the question, where was Rihanna's parents when all of this would have happened? Did they miss her the day after, the week after, the month after? And if they did, what did they do? Now, these are the parts of this puzzle that is becoming a little bit difficult for me to understand. I have an 11-year-old daughter whom I love dearly. And I would not be able to live with myself if she was to just disappear from me, from myself and her mother. And we have no idea where she is, and nobody seems to be making an effort to find her. Worse yet, I can't see myself sending my daughter or putting my daughter in a situation for the purpose of creating a career, putting her in a situation with people whom I don't know, and just letting her off and then hoping that everything will come back to me or come back to myself and her mother, nice and dandy. She's got a career now and she's good to go. I have another daughter who's a model. She's 30 years old. She's a model, and I dislike it. But that's her choice. She's grown. I can't do anything about it. But I know what goes on in that industry, and I'm not even in it. Models, they get high. They travel around the world. They sleep with, they're forced to sleep with this one and sleep with that one to get their careers going, in the direction that they desire. I'm not happy with my daughter being a model, but that's what she chose. And she's 30 years old. There's nothing I can do about it. But I would not knowingly put my 11-year-old daughter in that industry, knowing what can possibly come out of it. We've been hearing about pedophiles in the industry for decades. Look at what happened to Judy Garland. And there are countless other women whom we can speak about that stuff has happened to them. So therefore, the parents of these young girls has to bear some responsibility. Your 13-year-old daughter is supposedly meeting with Jay-Z or meeting with men in the industry after a music awards ceremony. How did your daughter get there without somebody knowing that she's a child? Somebody must have known that she's a child. How did she get there, and where were you, parents? Yes, if Jay-Z is guilty, let's hang him for being guilty, if that's what's necessary. But along with him, where are the parents, and how guilty are we going to make you? How guilty must we hold, and how accountable must we hold the parents? This is what I'm asking. So for you, my listeners, my followers, comment in the comment section. Share this video. If you think that parents are to be made and found guilty for allowing their 13 and 12 and 11 and 9-year-old daughters and sons to become harvested or to be harvested into the industry for the sole purpose of the moguls plucking their virginity at a young age, destroying their lives, and turning them into God knows what, let me hear what you have to say. Because if you are a parent, and most of you listening, I'm sure you are a parent, how would you feel about your child being in that industry and losing themselves? I'm sure you would feel very bad about it. Comment, share this video. Let me hear what you have to say. Like, follow, do what you got to do. Let's get this message out there. Take this video, share it, so that everyone can hear it. Because apparently, this part of the discussion is not very much out there. We're hearing about what P. Diddy has done. We're hearing now about what Shawn Carter has, possibly done. But we are not hearing about why these young girls were out there in the first place. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening. As I greet you, and I will always greet you with the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.